This is CHSR 97.9 FM here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. This is Python's Paradise, your film and music show, and this is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena. And folks, we all love Dracula, and you know, no other face matches Dracula quite like Bela Lugosi. And you know, I have his awesome son, Bela Lugosi Jr., on the phone with me today to talk about and do tribute to this man. How do you do, Bella?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Thanks, Greg.
Yeah, this is a real honor, you know. Like Dracula predates my parents, you know. It doesn't my grandparents, but
Wow.
1931, Todd Browning. And of course, I think the only vampire film I am familiar with that's gone before it was Nosferatu in 1922, I believe. But yeah, here's my first question: is what was it like as a child growing up with Bela Lugosi as a father? What was he like from a father standpoint and balancing a career?
Well, you know, Greg,
Yeah.
that's my most frequently asked question,
Yeah.
and I understand why, because even though I didn't realize it at the time, all these facts were unfolding. Looking back now, I saw that really that was a unique experience growing up with Dad, because he was a unique guy in many ways. Don't forget, he was 56 when I was born.
Yes.
So we didn't have like the normal father-son age spread there to influence my life.
Yes. And of course, he started out, of course, in the stage, and Dracula was really what brought him stardom. Is that right?
Yeah, no argument there.
Yeah.
I mean, I love watching his movies because he did such a great job in every movie he was in. No matter what the quality of the other elements were.
Mm-hmm.
And like for example, when he played Igor, that's a very underappreciated role, but it's one of his favorites.
Yes. If I remember correct, that was was that in Son of Frankenstein, was it not?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your favorite of his movies?
I would say Black Cat.
Black Cat. Now, why Black Cat?
It's such an unusual film even today.
Mm-hmm.
It is very weird and it had that Bauhaus kind of architecture. Dad played a good guy instead of a bad guy.
Okay.
The premise of the movie was scary. I just think he did a really a good job in that movie.
Yeah, I would imagine he probably liked the stretch going from all these years as Dracula, a stretch to play a protagonist in a film like
Right.
Black Cat. Did he have any stories in preparation for Black Cat?
No, the only thing I have is photographs taken at the time.
Okay. What was his? And again, I don't know how much of this you could tell me, but what was his method in going into a role? Like, what was his preparation methods?
Oh, I witnessed that for sure.
Okay.
And he, every scene he was in, he could do it in one take. And it'd be other people that flubbed the lines, and the reason is his preparation. I mean, he really had a work ethic, and he prepared. And what he'd do is, I've seen him mark up a script, and he'd say a sentence, and he'd say it over and over in a different emphasis each time he did it till he got it just the way he wanted it. And he'd annotate his script. But, very hard worker.
Yes. And of course, we all know the classic Dracula story, and all the elements, of course, have been repeated in subsequent movies, And but this one here really, really put it down right. And of course, Van Helsing being in this as well, and all the elements are right there. Now, of course, he's like the face of Dracula. Anytime you hear the name Dracula, you kind of picture Bela Lugosi.
Bela Lugosi is Dracula.
Yeah, Bela Lugosi is Dracula. And I understand he really enjoyed that part of the point. Like, I understand that he used to just like dress in the Dracula outfit just for fun. No,
total fabrication.
That's fabrication. Okay, I'm glad you got that right on me, because I know that would
have been pretty weird.
Well, I know that the Ed Wood movie played around with that with Tim Burton, and I know I was told by your daughter that some of that was fabricated. So.
Yeah, well, I knew Ed Wood. I met him at the time he was visiting Dad.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter how weird Ed Wood might have been by today's standards,
mm-hmm.
He still kept my dad working, and I think he used Dad for his own purposes, but he really helped Dad a lot. I think he respected him a lot.
Well, it's always great as a young filmmaker to have a connection to somebody as classic and big in the business as Bela Lugosi was. So he was probably not just enamored, but he was probably like, gee, how do I make this work? Because it's like I have access to something promising, and probably the biggest sell factor for his movies.
Well, he thought he was forgotten. He would have been amazed to see how his legacy has been revived by future generations.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things I like to do on this show is I love to introduce new generations to these films, and I love horror films. I grew up with horror films, and I think a lot of times now they're getting a little graphic. Back then, they used atmosphere, they used suspense, and they had really good villains and good heroes. And I find that with today, especially with CGI, there's something lacking. Whereas back then, when Todd Browning made Dracula, he had the sets, he made the shadows, and like I'm reminded, for example, the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, how well that turned out, and that came out 1920, I believe. So so a lot of, I think it was harder to make films back then compared to now.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Well, do you have any stories to share about your father in the making of Dracula, and his, the makeup and?
Well, a number of things. One is his performance was unique to him,
mm-hmm.
and he wore hardly any makeup at all, and did his own makeup.
Okay.
For that film. And I can relate more to his performance as Dracula in the 1948 motion picture Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
Yeah.
But it was a tongue-in-cheek movie, but he played it straight, which came out really good. But he pretty much created that character.
Yes, and of course he worked with Todd Browning. This was the year before Todd Browning made Freaks, which was pretty controversial. Any stories about his working relationship with Todd?
No.
No. Okay.
It's, because it's understandable because of the age difference. I didn't have the normal kind of a conversation you have with your dad.
No.
He
No.
wouldn't come home and say, "Hey, let me tell you about Todd Browning."
No. Okay. No. No. Another thing too, you hear a lot about is again, this is something that I'd love for you to clear up because I hear various stories about differences between personal differences between he and Boris Karloff, who played Frankenstein.
No, I've heard all those same things, and I've spoken with Sarah Karloff about it.
Mm-hmm.
And Dad didn't use swear words when describing Karloff, and didn't do a lot of the things attributed to Dad in the Ed Wood film.
Okay.
But as far as Karloff goes, their worlds were so different. Dad, was not a tea drinking, Dad was more the, music and wine and friends and
Yeah.
partying.
Yes.
They had different lives, different worlds.
Different. Yep. Well, you had mentioned Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. Now, this is interesting because they're taking Bela Lugosi as Dracula and putting him in the world of comedy, and he got to work, of course, with Glenn Abbott and Louis Costello, who were two of the greats. And what can you tell me about his working relationship with them, and how much he enjoyed that?
Well, I was on the set
Okay.
for much of that filming, and they didn't have much to do with me. Abbott and Costello didn't. And I didn't really see much interaction with Dad other than, when they're actually filming a scene.
Okay.
He got a lot of respect on the set. That's one of the things that is impressed in my memory is, he would do a scene in one take.
Mm-hmm.
And, he was good to the crew, good to the cast, and everyone seemed to hold him in very high respect.
Yeah. Well, I do know that your father really wanted to do some comedy. Would you say he preferred comedy over horror, or does it interchange?
He was such a good actor. He could do any of that, and he did. That's one of the reasons that his performance is Igor.
Mm-hmm.
Was one of his favorite. He got a chance to make that character comedic.
Yes.
And yes, you're right. He did wish he could have been cast in a better bigger variety of characters.
Yes, and of course, Ed Wood had cast him in Glenda, doing as a scientist and doing some narration. And I thought Glenda was a much better film than a lot of people give it credit for. And I like what Ed Wood had done with it. And he could, of course, that was the first film that he did with your dad. I take it, right?
I don't have that fact in my mind.
Okay.
I can't remember.
But then they went on, of course, Plan 9 from Outer Space, which featured archive footage, because that was released after your father's passing.
Yes.
Yeah. That film's got a really interesting reputation now.
Best film ever made. Worst film ever made.
Yeah. Do you think it's the worst film ever made?
Oh, I don't know. That'd be an interesting kind of contest.
You know what, though? It's interesting, and I learned this with The Room recently with Tommy Wiseau. There are some movies that are so bad they're enjoyable, and I think Plan 9 from Outer Space falls under that category.
How about Ishtar?
Yeah, Ishtar, I don't think so. Yeah, but nonetheless, I think Plan 9 falls under that because people laugh at it and its absurdity in the terms of how it was done. And I guess he really wanted to have Bela Lugosi in this, and of course, Bela had passed away. Talk about talk about Ed Wood deciding to use him for Plan 9 even after his passing.
No, I wasn't in contact with Ed Wood after that at all, so I don't know.
Okay. What were your impressions of Ed Wood when you did meet him?
Well, he was enthusiastic. I think he drank a little too much. He was passionate about making films, and in particular making films with Dad in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, here's one thing I do got to bring up, and you were involved, of course, in the Bela Lugosi versus Universal Studios, and that was a major, major thing. And I'm glad that you'd won that because I agree with your end of it. Give us some details on that.
Well, just to straighten you out a little bit on that, I actually lost the case after like 13 years of litigation. The court, the California Supreme Court, stating that there's no law extending rights of publicity past the lifetime of the artist. And the court said that if there's to be a law like that, the legislature has to pass it. And so after the case was over, the legislature did pass the Celebrity Rights Act to reverse that part of the Supreme Court decision.
So, so that now the likeness for your father that goes to you and your family. Is that right?
That's right.
That's great. That 13 years. That's gonna be a trying period.
Well, I actually started that case while I was still in law school.
Yes. How long have you been doing law?
Well, I retired a year or so ago after 53 years practicing law.
53 years. Wow. That's a long time.
Long enough.
Huh?
Long enough.
Long enough. Do you want to tell us what your hardest case was?
Well, I had a 4.5 month jury trial.
Mm-hmm.
Where I represented some of the heirs of some of the Three Stooges.
Okay.
And that was a very difficult case for a number of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Very hard fought, but 4.5 month jury trial is quite an exhausting thing.
I had the grandson, the son of Curly, Bradley Server, on my show before.
What's his name? Say it again.
Brad Server. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, he was the son of Curly. But nonetheless, here we are. What do you think of this legacy of your dad? All of these years, like you got stuff like Hotel Transylvania, which pretty much again, Dracula has done it in that classic likeness. What do you think of that?
Well, no one would have thought that his legacy would be so prominent and last for so long. And that's really my job and my daughter Lynn, who you spoke to, her job, trying to keep the legacy alive. And what's the most heartening is when I go to events, is when the next generation, which we're not adults at all during most of those years, remember him and admire his work. You should see the letters that I get from fans. It's really amazing how people have kept that memory alive.
Oh yes, well that's part of what I try to do on here as well, you
Yes,
know.
yes,
And
thank you.
yeah, well, he was an amazing screen presence and talent. Your father was, and do you still do the conventions?
Yes,
Okay,
not all of them, just some of them.
okay. Here's a question I ask a lot of my guests: what's the most unique thing you've ever been asked to sign?
Oh, asked to sign? Well, people, body parts, I guess.
They get them tattooed on themselves too, I guess. I hear about stories like that. Do you have a favorite place you've traveled for a convention? Because they all seem to be very different.
The one that is in New Jersey,
Oh, New
Chiller.
Jersey, Chiller, yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been amazing if these conventions were going on when your father was still with us. Because I mean, he
Oh
would,
boy, yeah.
yeah,
Well, even now there's people lining up to get autographs from me,
yep,
and I'm not the movie star. My dad was,
yeah.
but it's extended his legacy to me, and people come up and are asking the same questions you're asking.
Yep. Well, talk about Bela Lugosi Enterprises, because I know your daughter is taking care of that, and she was, of course, the one I spoke to connect to you. Talk about this, and of course, plug the web page as well on here, so we can direct people to where it is.
Oh, BelaLugosi.com.
Yeah.
But yeah, we handle license deals for his name and likeness,
Mm-hmm.
and arrange for any appearances, interviews like this.
Yep.
We have a wonderful group of licensees make some interesting and nice products, and we try to do good products to keep his memory in a positive way alive.
What are some of these products?
Well, heavy metal guitar,
Oh wow. Okay. That kind of that fits.
wine,
Wine, yes, of course.
beer,
Yep. Yep.
various figurines,
Oh yes, I love the figurines.
accessories,
Yep.
cosmetics, all sorts of stuff.
And you as the heirs, you guys get the marketing for this, right? Like you guys benefit from this.
Well, I'm sorry. Say it again.
Like you guys are the ones that get the financial benefit for this, right?
Yes, and the financial losses.
Yeah. Well, I just kind of going back to the Universal thing because that obviously was a struggle. So, well, here's a tricky question I need to ask, and I know I've asked probably a lot of questions you've heard before. My apologies if it sounds really generic, but I'm trying not to make you think too much on my behalf, but. I would like to know if you could share something about Bela Lugosi that the average person, especially in media, might not know. Something, could be small or something, whatever stands out that you could share about him.
Well, he escaped a political situation in Europe
Mm-hmm.
in the early 1920s and signed on as part of the crew of a ship, sailed into New Orleans Harbor, and had a shore pass, got off, made his way to New York, acted there, and became a citizen,
Yep.
and then moved out to Hollywood, where he made Dracula.
Yes. You
Actually portrayed Dracula on the stage and on Broadway years before he played it in the movie.
Yeah, that's what caught Todd Browning's attention. Is that correct? When he
Say it
cast,
again?
was that what caught Todd Browning's attention to cast him in the film?
You know, I think Dad actually tried to promote himself for that part.
Okay, well, so it paid off big time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who'd have thought?
Yeah. Where I was wondering if you tell me, like, when he passed, like, were you with him when he passed, or where were you when you first heard it?
Well, I was at home. I lived at that time with my mother,
Okay.
and his then wife Hope came home and found him dead with a script in his hand.
Was the script Plan 9, or was it another script?
No, it's not Plan 9.
Okay. Do you remember what the script was?
No.
No? Okay. Well, he kept busy right to the very end.
Oh,
and-
yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think that he was a great presence, and he'll always be remembered. And of course, Christopher Lee played Dracula. Did you like the Christopher Lee Dracula films?
Oh, by the way, to answer a previous question, the script he was reading,
Okay.
Final Curtain.
Final Curtain. Okay.
Now, the last question you asked, I didn't answer. What was
Well,
it?
I mentioned that after he passed, Christopher Lee ended up playing Dracula in a series of films. I was wondering, what did you think of his portrayal as Dracula?
Oh, he was a good actor, but you can't compare anything to the iconic performance of my father.
No, I agree. I agree. Yeah, your father pretty much owned that role. Yep.
Yep.
I was just
Okay, well, thank you very much for your interest, and
Yes, I was just going
your
to
viewers.
I was just going to ask you before you signed off on me if you would do a plug for my show. I would have.
This is Bela Lugosi Jr. You're listening to Greg
Gilbert.
on Python Media.
I'll take that. Have you ever been out here to New Brunswick, Canada before?
No, I've been to Canada, but not there.
Yeah, not too many people know where we are here either. No.
Probably colder than Los Angeles, huh?
Oh yeah. Well, we have cold winters, and now we're getting into that summer period. But yeah, we have some pretty nasty cold winters. Yeah. Well, first off, I want to say a special thanks to your daughter Lynn for setting this up. So thank you to her.
Oh, yeah, she does a great job.
Yes, she does. And I want to thank you for allowing me the honor of interviewing you in tribute to your dad.
Well, it's a very good questions you asked, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. God bless you, and you have yourself a wonderful day.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.